And I want people to find their medical home, where they fit, where they feel like people understand them, that get them, that they feel comfortable and trust the advice of the person that they're getting, their information from.
Well, Dr. Otto, thank you for doing this with me. I appreciate your time today. So,
Absolutely.
really, today is about you. Today is to focus on you, your practice, you. Tell me about you. Tell our audience what we need to know.
Awesome. I'm a primary care physician. I trained in the Army, practiced in the military for quite a while, so fairly well-rounded in terms of training. Decided about 4.5 years ago to embark on my own journey and start my own direct primary care practice, with the idea of being able to provide longer extended visits, develop better relationships with patients, um, figure out really what the best options are for them as individuals, for their healthcare and for their life, taking all those things into consideration. So really offering the practice that I would have wanted as a patient, that I would want for my
Hmm.
own family members.
All right, so it sounds like there's like a story behind there. So, well, and what made you like, all right, I got to change. Something's got to change.
Yeah, so I think it was a string of things that all happened that kind of led me to where I am now. I was practicing, when I left the military, I practiced for a smaller community hospital setting that had a lot of flexibility, and I was able to offer patients better care, the type of care that I wanted. But as I got busier and busier, the system wouldn't allow me to spend more time with patients or to
Mm,
stop taking new patients as my schedule became full. I didn't have the opportunity to get patients in for same day or next day visits if they needed something. So they'd be going to urgent care and have all sorts of just disjointed care.
mm,
Um, and I really wanted to be able to offer something better to those patients. A string of things happened with hospital systems in the area that made that exponentially worse. Sort of my tipping point to say, listen, I am already not happy with the care that I'm able to provide to patients in the limited timeframes and limited communication. So when it became even worse, I essentially decided that that was not healthcare anymore. That wasn't practicing the type of medicine that I wanted to practice. So I decided to leave. Leading up to
yeah.
that point, also my dad had passed away at age 68 after being in the ICU on life support and us withdrawing care. And not too long after that, my mom passed away from pancreatic cancer, which is why I always have purple in my hair. But going through those things, those interactions with the healthcare system, realizing that there wasn't anyone really coordinating that care and really getting to know us as a family and what our family members needed, I knew that people deserved better. But that also allowed me to reprioritize my time to say, I'm spending so much time on things that don't impact patient care, that aren't good for the patient, and that are actually bad for me in terms of my mental health and time spent with my family. So I knew I needed a change. And initially, I thought that change meant leaving medicine altogether because I didn't think it was possible to provide the care that I wanted in the system we have right now. I happened to kind of stumble upon the idea of direct primary care at a conference. Another physician, actually a physician from Boise, Idaho, Julie Gunther, was giving a talk, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is my last ditch effort to try to make this work. This sounds amazing. It sounds too good to be true." And I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. And I never looked back, and it's been amazing. So,
I love that. I want to go back to one of the stories I always remember you telling me, which kind of ties into why the switch is. I remember you telling me that you had a patient that came in for one thing called like a sinus, right? They had a
mhm.
sinus cold, and they had said, "Hey, by the way, since I'm here, my shoulder's been acting up, or my knee, or whatever it is." And in the system that you're in, it was just like, I can't talk about that. Well, I'm here.
Yeah,
Can't you're my doctor. I want you to help me. That's what I'm here for.
right.
And like, well, no, you have to make another appointment. I'll see you. My appointment says I'll see you in 2 months. That's where the book says. Like, well,
If it's available.
if you could get in, if you're lucky. And I always remember that frustration that I saw on your face when you were telling me that, like, there has to be more. There has to be something better.
Right.
Tell me about this system that you found. Like, tell me what is this about direct patient care?
So the idea is that since we don't bill insurance, we don't have to follow the rules of insurance. And since
Amen. Right.
we don't bill per visit. It's not a fill all the spots, double book just in case somebody cancels. Because if you have an unbooked patient spot, then that's lost revenue that you're still paying overhead. We've gotten rid of all of that. So it's a traditional primary care practice in terms of providing prevention and screening, health education, being proactive, really trying to improve people's health through those direct communication and direct interactions. But the payment model is different. So it's a lot of times what people would call boutique medicine or a form of concierge medicine. So it's monthly memberships. For adults, it's 60 to 80 bucks a month. That covers almost everything that we can do in the office: unlimited office visits, text messages, video chats, emails, phone calls after hours. All of our patients have our cell phone numbers. So in case they're standing in line at the pharmacy and they don't have the prescription, they can just call us and we can resend it. So a lot of those conveniences are there, covered. So the idea is that we can do extended visits. So each of our visits are 30 to 60 minutes long. Most annual physicals are an hour, sometimes even more, just so that we can get a hold of of the whole picture, sort of what's going on with this person's health, their lifestyle factors that might be contributing, any things that they may be not thinking about with regards to their health that may sneak up on them in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So it gets us a more integrated picture into their health and overall wellness, really, that we can offer them without charging an arm and a leg. So since we don't bill insurance, we don't have billers or coders, we don't have a collections department, which again cuts down on cost a lot.
It sounds like you're able to be more holistically minded with your patients.
Yeah.
You're able to. I love what you said. Like, all right, listen, if I'm looking at your labs, you're fine now, but this is
Mm-hmm.
elevated. It's subclinically elevated. Um,
Right.
so so we need to look at your cholesterol in the next 3 to 5 years. Do you want to make some changes now so that we don't have to have that
Right.
conversation?
Right.
And
And following those trends to match up to say, gosh, back in 2019, your numbers looked a lot better. What were you doing then? Let's mimic some of that, or let's go back to some of those things that you were doing at the time that really looks like it made a big difference.
yeah, what habits were you doing? Well,
Mm-hmm.
I switched jobs and I don't get off
Right.
till 8 o'clock at night now. And I just
Right.
eat my bowl of ice cream and then I go to bed. Tell me about just the name. Names are very important in our society. So tell me the name of the business and how it got there for you.
Yes. So our practice is called SproutMD. Um, it's also another kind of journey along the way how I came up with the name. Essentially, starting my own business with a minimal budget. I didn't have really the option to pay somebody to come up with a name and to help me register it and come up with a logo and website and all that stuff, because I knew that every dollar I spent was going to have to come out of a patient's pocket. So I didn't want to have to raise rates. I wanted to keep everything bare bones as much as possible. So um, the idea of Sprout came from just kind of growing up in a rural area, spending time on my grandparents' farm, gardening with my grandma, watching those little seedlings sprout and watching them kind of flourish. But also knowing that, that tiny seed that nobody really pays attention to, it's just kind of starting there, under the surface, starts to break through. But if we're talking about like the seed of a tree, an acorn, that seed has the potential to change the entire landscape of the world it's in right there.
Yeah.
It's solid, it's steady, it's new growth, it's nourishment, it's, let's protect this sprout and optimize its potential for the future. So
I
that
love
was the
that.
idea.
I love that.
And
Tell
kind
me
of
about,
turning over a new leaf, maybe.
yeah, like grow, right? We all love this
Yes.
idea of growth. Yeah, especially when we talk about like for our patients too, because oftentimes they come in broken and they
Yeah.
don't realize that there's an oak tree inside. They don't
Right.
realize that they have this unleashed thing, but this is holding them back. Tell me about the
Right.
vision that you have for your company.
So initially when I started, like I said, my idea was kind of just to escape the system and to be able to practice medicine, just kind of hunker down and have my little practice and treat my, smaller number of patients in a way that was fulfilling to me and beneficial to them. But it pretty quickly became something a lot more than that. As I started the practice and kind of word spread and people talked about it, I was initially pretty afraid to advertise because I was honestly afraid that my prior employer might come after me or find out what I was doing close by to where I was before. I didn't violate any agreements, but there's always that threat of like a large medical system kind of
You
bowling over
never
the little
know.
guy, right?
You never know what those fleets of lawyers are gonna do. You
Right.
never know. Not let's knock on wood for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So the idea was to kind of keep my head down, do my thing, but my practice filled up pretty quickly. And then I got multiple physicians around in the area that I know and that I'd kind of been keeping updated on what I was doing. And a lot of them were intrigued because they were kind of burnt out by the system too. And not long after that, one of my other physician friends approached me, Dr. Clarissa Allen, and she was essentially in the same boat. She's like, I can't practice medicine anymore. This is awful. I have a family. I want to spend time with them. I want to provide my patients with great care, and I can't do that anymore. And I was like, well, maybe you can come join me. And she's like, I'm in. So she joined, and then she pretty quickly filled her panel. And we hired a third physician, Dr. Rachel Dickerson, this past July 2022. And now she's filling up. So I've quickly gone from just keeping my head down, seeing and treating my own
Don't
patients
see me.
and
My
developing
office is
relationships
not
with
over
them
here, but I'll see you at two
to,
o'clock on Tuesday.
right,
Yeah.
to suddenly like an office of three physicians, trying to help foster the growth of other DPC practices in the area because I know that a lot of people want this. And obviously I'm not the right physician for everybody. And so, everybody has a little bit different personality. And I want people to find their medical home where they fit, where they feel like people understand them, that get them, that they feel comfortable and trust the advice of the person that they're getting, their information from. So helping other practices get started has kind of become one of my pet projects as well. And now we have quite a few in the area. So
It sounds like you have an avenue for disruption for St. Louis to, I like using magical, bigger, and better. Magical is a beautiful word for it. Um, what is that the path for disruption for you, or do you have other ideas stewing?
I think my primary goal is always and has always been take care of myself, take care of my family, take care of my patients. And that's it. Like I'm very much a purist. If I don't take care of myself, I can't provide good care for anybody else. And I take family really seriously. So I understand those, parents or caregivers that come in that are patients, that need help with their families or their family situations or caregiving efforts. So I think that that's really my primary purpose, my primary goal. Outside of that, whatever comes after that is just extra, is just bonus. I'm happy to help other practices get started. I'm happy to raise awareness for this movement as far as this option for healthcare, because I think a lot of people aren't getting what they need in the traditional healthcare system, and don't
100%
know
agreed.
where to go, or who to trust. So I love the idea of expanding it. I don't necessarily want to take that on myself because it's just not my priority.
Very fair.
I don't want to disrupt the whole system, just my little corner of it.
Hey, listen, those acorn roots got to go somewhere, right?
Right?
It might
But I
go
don't
under
have to grow.
those big office buildings that they're
Yes.
building.
I just don't have to grow the whole forest myself.
That's fair. Let's throw some other trees in the mix.
So I think, the biggest thing, my biggest goal as far as talking about, or talking to people about direct primary care is just the model itself. To help people understand that there is another option out there. Our office is only one of many in the area. Again, I don't feel like I need to direct more people to our practice. I think that the other practices in the area are amazing as well. They all have great rates, great availability. So I don't necessarily want to promote my practice over anyone else's, but just the idea of this movement. We do of course, have a physician that's currently taking patients, Dr. Dickerson. So she does have availability now. I don't know how much longer that's going to be though. So I don't want to necessarily promote, oh yeah, we're taking new patients now, because she may fill pretty quickly as well. So
Are you going to bring a fourth in?
not at this point. I don't have any ideas on the horizon, but everything so far has kind of just fallen into place at the right time. So
That's
I'm going to
nice.
trust that things will happen when they need to happen. And until then, I'm content with where I am right now. So
I love that. I love your pyramid that you talked about. Me, family, patients, and that's one of my next questions. How important is health in your business, and what are you doing to keep yourself and your team optimized, well, and burnout free?
I think it's critical. If any one piece, if any one individual in our practice, one of the other physicians or our office manager aren't performing at our best, things will fall through the cracks. And obviously we help each other out and we're constantly checking in on each other, but that's a top priority. Making sure that we have healthy snacks at the office. If we have a busy day and don't have a chance to run out to, to get lunch, or didn't have a chance to pack anything that day, taking time off. I don't necessarily force vacations, but I strongly encourage everyone in the practice to take time away, disconnect, shut off your phone and route your calls to me, or I'll shut off my phone and route my calls to you, just to have some time to disconnect, to connect to their passions. And having the flexibility in the schedule is another big benefit. So if I have a kid's school play coming up, or an event that's happening at their school, or a family event that's happening, I can pretty easily switch around my schedule to accommodate for those things. So it doesn't require an act of Congress to get a day off and
Yeah,
request it 6 months in advance and 4 signatures, and so
can't
the
imagine.
flexibility, taking time off, taking good care of ourselves and taking care of each other, and making those things a priority are really the top of my list.
I love that you're a purist in those things too. Nothing else matters. This is
Yeah.
where we go. This is my filter. This is my filter for the practice. This is my filter for
Yes.
life. And it sounds like you found a very happy niche for yourself. I think really where we are in our medical world is a lot of people are getting, feeling, and understanding the frustration with the big system,
Mhm.
and they're actively either just sitting there on the couch thinking, what the heck am I going to do? I have no idea what's coming on the horizon. All I know is I
Yeah.
have this issue and I need help. Where do I go next?
Right.
And unfortunately, when people want to search the style of practice where it's almost like the country doc, you
Right.
went and saw Dr. Brown, Dr. Brown took care of you. If you go in, yep, here's your dozen eggs, Dr. Brown. We're good to go. Yep, all right. Tell your grandma I said hello. But you got that direct patient care. You got the care
Right.
that you needed. You got exactly, and I think it's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
I definitely agree. The system has become so impersonal. It seems that it's just business. And I feel like there are, everyone I know that's in traditional practices that works for large hospital systems, or other traditional practices, they're all good people, and they all really
Yes.
know what people need. They know what they
Mhm.
would need if they were in that situation, and they are stuck in a situation where a good chunk of the time they can't provide that. And the amount of just angst and frustration that creates on their part, knowing what they need to do, knowing what's right, and not being able to do it because the system is just soul crushing. So I think you've got a lot of good people that want to change the system, but they're held down by the powers that be to not be able to make medicine or healthcare what it needs to be. And I do think that there's, that system creates a lot of distrust as well. If you've got 5 minutes to talk to a physician or a healthcare provider, it's, how can they really answer the deep questions you have about, what are the real side effects of this medication or this treatment, or are there really any other options? Well, no, I don't have time to talk about anything else. This is the number one option. This is what I recommend. Go for it. Right. And it's tough for patients, because it's, to really feel reassured that that person has had enough time to review their
Yeah.
history, to really determine what's right for them, but to also to empower that individual to make their own decisions about their healthcare. And I think that takes time, and developing that personal relationship and understanding.
And I think a lot of it also has to do with where we are as a society,
Mm-hmm.
because I take like my grandma's day. She worked with a doctor. My grandma's not 101 now. She worked with a doctor, Dr. Gorelsic. He may be dead. Graham's still alive. He's probably dead. Um, but like the doctor was God, but we are so marketed to as an industry because the industry see those dollar signs as we walk in
Mm-hmm.
the door. I mean, watching TV last night, hey, tell your doctor you should probably be on Ozempic. Be like,
Right.
should I be? Do I need this? And then you're right. Does the doctor have 5 minutes, if they're lucky, to not only eat lunch for themselves, but to
Right.
provide an honest, straightforward answer to their patient and be like, no,
Mm-hmm.
you're fine. Your labs are great. You don't need this. You're okay.
Maybe
Don't
let's
need,
talk
don't,
about some lifestyle changes first.
but that was the next words out of my mouth. Why don't you slow down on the McDonald's? Okay. I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, and I think just, spending time with patients to not, to get a feel for what works for them and what doesn't. So I
Yeah.
can't really give somebody advice, if I say, gosh, maybe you should eat less red meat, but some patients should not eat less red meat, right? Or they already don't eat red meat, but I didn't take the time to ask that question, right? So I think that
Right.
there's so much more that goes into that, and I don't feel like I can really give people good advice unless I know where they're starting from, but also what they've tried in the past that worked or didn't work, as well as even some of their family history to say, gosh, you've got a sister that be pretty genetically similar to you, that what's worked for them. um, so giving us more of an idea of where to concentrate our efforts in terms of making changes.
Man, we went over some
Awesome.
deep stuff. That was great. All right. Well, Dr. Otto, thank you very much for doing this with me. I'm gonna hit the button, then stick around for an extra
Absolutely.
second.
Yeah,
What we'll do
thanks
is
for having me.
we'll put your link. So if people want to know for Dr. Dickerson, if she wants to not fill up those last couple spots that she has with, they're probably gone at the end of this. So it is what it is. So anyway, thank you again.
Absolutely.